Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cam's rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another fine episode of Hank's Think Tank, and wait till you see what we got in store for you today. The title of this, I believe, is going to be Women Working in a Man's Field. Women in the workplace, we may work on that. And we are joined here today by Brandi, Becky, and of course, the man himself, Mr. Hank Vatt.
What's up?
Welcome, ladies. So glad you can make it out here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
So we're going to jump right on into this, and let's get a little background on what you're doing and where you're working, vaguely, however you want to put it, and what you're dealing with out there working in a man's world. Whoever would like to start.
You want to go first, Becky?
All right. Well, gosh, I started doing this maybe about 12, 13 years ago. I was riding in an ambulance, and a man in a company truck pulled us over and asked if we wanted to work offshore, and I jumped on it. It's something that I'd always wanted to do, but I didn't know how to get into that field.
And so you were a paramedic in the
yes.
ambulance, right? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
And from that point on, I was offshore for a while, and then I got moved into a land position, and that job was only supposed to last for about a year, and I ended up there for 7 years. And
Awesome. Yeah, so when I met you at one of the local oil companies off of Highway 6, you were what I thought was the company nurse, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
EMT, paramedic, you had a whole lot more background than I knew, and probably most everybody else did too.
Yeah, working out there, I loved it. I was very thankful that they actually created that position specifically for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the security people got involved, and in fact, when everyone found out I was getting laid off, they rallied to try to keep me there, and even Houston Fire Department, the station that responded there, even called Yvonne and tried to get me to stay.
Right.
So
That's cool.
How'd that turn out?
I'm gone.
On to bigger and better things.
Well, can we back up a little bit?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about working offshore because I'm
Yeah.
really unfamiliar with how all that works and stuff. I know you guys get choppered in and out, right?
Either chopper or boat.
Or boat.
Right now, where I'm working, we're going out by chopper because we're 80 miles southwest of Houma, Louisiana.
Okay. Wow.
And
80 miles out in the Gulf.
Yes.
Man.
Yes. Very
That's-
blue water.
yeah.
It's beautiful
Nice.
out there. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. And so being in the chopper is like being on a roller coaster with just no wheels.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be nuts. So, I guess when you're there, you're living on site for a while,
Yes.
right? How
Yes.
long? How
We're
long?
probably 30 days or so.
Yeah.
21.
21 days.
21 days on, 21 days off.
Wow.
They feed us, do our laundry, have my own room.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
So
the
you-
only other women are in the laundry, probably.
No, actually, the other two women that are out there are engineers that are
Really?
out there with their
That's cool.
capping oil wells right now.
Yeah.
They're not actively drilling and then capping. And so they're working as engineers out there.
So may I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do.
What made you think that they were in laundry?
I was playing a joke on her.
Oh man,
I'm just teasing.
Throwing a little dart
I'm
here and there.
teasing.
And-
this is going to be
and-
good. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's tacks everywhere.
Okay, and that's one of the things that I faced because I went out on one location, and
They said, "Hey, can you iron this?"
no, 5 different people said, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Are you the new secretary?"
Really?
Nope, I'm your medic.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and medic's a tough job.
It's like, what makes you assume that I'm the secretary?
Right.
I'm the one that's going to save your life.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to
Better be
rethink your
careful.
questions.
Right.
So when you're living out there on this oil platform, how many people are there about?
I am on a drill ship,
Uh-huh.
but we have on the average 140 to 160
Yeah, it's a bunch of people. So that's enough people to create, I guess, a small community subset.
Yes.
So
yes.
is it different than the larger community that you would find on land? I mean, are there just different,
Well,
I guess,
being-
social circumstances
Yeah,
there?
being out there is like it's like a little mini refinery. So you have
Okay.
your refineries that are on
Yeah.
land, which is basically doing the same thing, but you're offshore and it's condensed.
Wow,
And it takes a lot of people to run it.
I bet it does, and there's a lot of safety stuff involved.
Oh,
Oh my
tons
God,
of
I
safety.
can
They
just
are.
imagine.
Yeah, and then probably even more because you can fall off the damn.
Well, it's an
platform.
oil company, and with the BP oil spill, everything changed
Yeah.
as far as all that goes. That
Yeah.
Deepwater
It did.
Horizon made everything
Absolutely.
different. Redundancy upon redundancy.
And so, how many paramedics did they have? Was it just you?
Yeah, just me.
Really?
But,
So, in the event of a cataclysmic problem,
You got to prioritize.
Oh my God, yeah.
100 people.
but
that's crazy.
there's also the divers that are out there. A lot of them are dive medics.
Yeah,
And a lot of people used to be an EMT or used to be a paramedic, so I'm not totally by myself,
right.
but the one that would run everything.
Yeah, you're trained, qualified first
Yeah.
responder. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
we had an incident on a barge that I was on where a diver was 55 feet in the water. It was dark. He misjudged and his foot went across the cutter and it broke his leg and he had a hole in his ankle. And and the captain was like, "Hey, we got a boat coming out." And I said, "Oh no, sir, he needs a chopper."
Yeah.
"Are you serious?" "Yes, I'm serious. He needs a chopper."
Good grief.
And he said that was the first time in 35 years he ever had to airlift anybody off of his boat. And I had everybody else going, "Miss Becky, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
And good for you for making that call. You
Yeah.
saved his life.
Or at least his leg.
Exactly.
So, with the weight of that responsibility, do you think that the men aboard, or I don't know if you'd call it aboard, but the men there gave you the same reverence that they would have if it would have been a male paramedic?
They did.
I bet they did after that.
Yeah, after the fact, they
Right.
did, because now I created a trust and a bond with them, and they
Right.
knew that, okay, she really does know what she's
She
doing.
can work under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, because I tell them, if you're going to, everybody wants to see. So, you have the curious. Not everybody can handle blood.
Right. Yeah, I can.
And I always tell them, if you can't handle it, don't come over here, because I don't need 2 patients.
Right.
But I give them orders, can you do this? Can you do this? 'Cause
Yeah, you got to be
I
forceful.
have to have
Yeah.
some sort of help. But they had a safety incident. Well, actually, this was the incident, the guy that hurt himself. So in the safety meeting, the captain couldn't stress enough, pay attention to your surroundings, be aware of what's going on, and he wasn't making any headway at all. So finally I said, "Can I step in?" I said, "I'm going to tell y'all this from a different point of view." I said, when I come out here, I have to trust that the crane operator knows what he's doing, because my life is in his hands.
Sure.
Literally, if they're picking you up off
Yes.
a boat or something. Yeah.
I have to trust that everybody out here knows what they're doing, because my life is in your hands. But if something happens to you, your life is in my hands. And how would you feel if I said, I don't need to do that. I
Yeah.
can take a shortcut.
Right.
I mean, it's only your life, right?
Right.
And so they kind of had to put that different spin on it. They don't want me to take a shortcut,
Right.
which I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't, but
Yeah.
it was a point that I was trying to, don't take a shortcut on your job.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm not going to take a shortcut on mine, because we have to trust each other.
Right.
I
Right.
think kind of what Becky's talking about is building that trust. It's unique. It's unique, especially when we're walking onto a job site and they've never seen a female in that position before. For me, I come from construction, safety professional. I have all the same. Actually, I usually surpass the certifications that day to day of people the men that I work with. So I
Right.
have OSHA 30, I have my STS, I have my CHST, which
People don't realize how much training goes into all that.
100%.
Tons of training.
Yes,
Yeah.
and building that trust is it's more of a struggle, because we walk on a job site and they think, oh, she looks young, or
Yeah.
oh, I don't know
Or
what
she
her
looks like a
position
she.
is,
You know,
and
they start
yeah.
with that probably.
And I think just building that trust is so important, and it's actually kind of difficult because it's not given just offhand. It's not expected that I know what I'm talking about, and so I make it a point to make.
And
my
do you
presence
think
known.
that it is where men are talking to other men or dealing with other men? Do you think they're automatically just expected to know and understand what their job is?
I feel like it's almost a condition that we've produced even from childhood. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
most of the men that I've worked with and that I know grew up as boys that were playing with trucks and playing with mechanics of things and tools and knows the name of them and how they function. As a female, I didn't grow up that way.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm sitting in a meeting and they're talking about all these tools and how they're going to do this task, I don't know offhand really what it is until I research it. And I take that responsibility upon myself as a safety professional to know exactly what everybody's doing at all times. I will say that one of the companies that I worked for, I walked into my new boss's office. I got an opportunity to work for a smaller construction company, and he had a picture hung up on his wall, and it was a woman with a clipboard. And she says, and it said in the caption, "I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing it wrong." And it kind of set the tone of how people
That pretty
view
much
me.
spelled out the attitude,
It
didn't
did.
it? Yeah.
It did. And as much as I wanted to take offense to it, it definitely taught me something. That I walk on the construction site, I wasn't really there to prove anything to anybody. I was there to just make sure everybody went home safely, the way that they came home. That came in. That was my main goal.
But I would think that element that you do have to prove yourself is going to be there more for women than it would be for
Absolutely.
men.
You probably have to
So,
go the extra mile a little bit just to show
And no
them.
matter how in the industry, let's say out of 5 safety professionals that were men, I was the only woman there. And when I would be put on projects, they would get assigned to the project manager, "Hey, this is your safety professional for this project." And I knew that they thought that they were going to get a pushover. They thought that they were going to get somebody that was going to get away
Don't
with
you
all
worry
kinds
your
of
pretty
stuff.
little head over it. We got this, little
Yes.
lady.
And,
Yep. We get
That
the
was-
sweetheart, the darling,
Sweetheart,
the,
honey.
honey,
Wow.
hey.
that was absolutely not the case. And,
Oh, good. She's a woman. We'll have cookies.
yes. You would get
Man, I'm telling you right now, in my work, and my wife and I own an IT company, most of the people we deal with are females. If I did that once,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd be done.
Yeah. Even if you had a contract, it would not be renewed.
Yeah.
No, because these are strong, intelligent women that are running big organizations, and they know what's going on. And you can't get anything over on these chicks at all. I mean, you can't. You really can't.
We definitely, they
And-
try.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yep.
What
And I
are-
wouldn't say they're easier to work with than the men, but they're more thorough, for
You
damn
think?
sure. You know,
Probably because they have to be.
than men are. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least in our deal that we deal with.
I definitely had to do a lot of research. I attended more meetings than any of my colleagues, as far as like pre-construction meetings and things of that sort, so that I knew the phases that were coming up. My specialty was crane lifts, and so doing the calculations. And I mean, I didn't go to school for calculations on a crane lift, but I needed to figure it out to make sure that everybody on my job site went home safe.
Right.
That was my
Wow.
goal.
Get a little bit of the why in front of the how. Yeah.
Exactly.
So your construction, is that skyscrapers, commercial buildings, warehouse
So
type things?
it was
or-
all commercial buildings, interior and exterior. And so some were ground up, some were just refurbishing what was there. I varied from job sites where I ran a crew of 300 to 400 men.
Right.
Sometimes I ran 2 people. It really just kind of depends. Third shift, I worked a lot of nights.
A lot of heights.
A lot of heights, did a lot of roof jobs,
Mhm.
absolutely. And one of the things that I've always been passionate about is the actual laborers themselves. I think sometimes people in the workforce that are actually turning the tools, getting the shovels out and digging, they almost view themselves as second-class citizens. And I don't view it that way.
Right.
I don't, that's not something that I'm interested in.
I don't view it that way either. I've always been a working hand myself, and you know, vocational school does not equal college, but I have yet to meet a lot of the college guys with a lot of stuff behind them that know
Right.
what we do.
Right.
But it's like that thing on the wall. I don't know what you're doing, but my calculations say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And I came across that in the industry too, where they almost felt safer with me asking. I had a gentleman ask me on one of the first days I showed up to a project. I'm just walking the job site like anything else, and he came up to me. He was about the age of my father, and he asked me if he could go to the restroom. And I looked at him kind of shocked, and I said,
You should have told him no.
Yeah, I would have.
well, what that
You got
tells
18 minutes.
I
That-
would have said absolutely
what
not.
that question tells me is that he's used to hearing no.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said absolutely, you can use the restroom. I said, but please don't ever ask me that again. And I'm sorry that you felt that you needed to ask that. So
You don't think he was yanking your chain a little bit or something?
absolutely
You
not.
could have said, yes, you can go to the restroom, just do it safely.
Put this on.
You're going to need this
Good
harness.
luck. Exactly. But no, I think there's just kind of a culture that's kind of built. They kind of saw the struggle that I was going through with being accepted as a female on the construction site and being respected as a lead.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, I mean, there are females that are on a construction site, and maybe they're drywall or
Sure, I've seen them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I worked for an electric company. You remember Collier Electric?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think they're long gone now. But we had a remote site. We were building the Quaker Oats plant
Okay.
out somewhere in the southwest area. And they got a girl electrician apprentice to go out there and help us. And they had put us up in a motel, which was really cool for an 18-year-old like me. Oh, my God, I'm in a hotel with all these hippies, and we're partying all night, and we're trying to work all day before the safety things, right? But they got this girl out there on the crew, and she was a hot redhead. Oh, my God. And everybody was like, huh? And this is the early 80s, right? And so I made her my girlfriend, and everybody hated me.
Okay.
And but it was a whole different thing. Nobody gave a damn if she could do the job or not, you know. And that culture is long gone. I
There-
wonder whatever happened to her.
Oh, she's doing amazing things, I'm sure.
She's probably running a crew of somebody out there.
I will say that it is interesting when you come out onto the job site and everything kind of just stops. There's
Uh-huh.
sometimes when when I would walk into meetings and it was like, she's here, kind of thing. But I actually appreciated it. It set the tone for me. I don't know what the conversation was before I walked in, nor do I care. But I appreciated that whatever it was that they were talking about, that they felt that they needed to redirect because I was in the
Right.
room, and that's actually okay with me. That was perfectly fine. I'd rather them do that than to sit there and be uncomfortable and
Yeah.
offended on
You
the
probably,
context.
both of you probably had people that were a little over the top on certain sexist BS just to get your goat.
Yes.
You know, well, she'll hear this. Let me tell you this joke or whatever. Yeah.
I've had people flex their muscles at me in meetings.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You think they were coming on to you or what?
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Does this shirt make my muscles look too big?
And you're just kind of like,
What the hell?
And it's kind of one of those things where you're just like, if I was a young man, would you do the same thing?
I just
No.
wouldn't have the
Hell.
guts to do something like that.
It-
It
Well,
doesn't seem.
with the
No, I wouldn't risk the shoot down in flames.
with the sexual harassment.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we're
things
laughing,
now,
but it's not.
You know, even though companies use that, you have to take sexual harassment classes now.
Oh yeah,
You know,
Right.
I've been to a few, and I told them
but-
I'm well versed on how to do that, and they said, "No, you're not getting the point. Just
Yeah.
sit down and." Yeah.
But it's still very much kind of alive.
And I'm
out
sure it's-
there.
I'm sure
They're
it's
gonna
still a
test
problem.
the waters to see how far they can push me or push
Right.
her. Or,
Right.
But I do think that in some cases it's gone too far also.
Yeah.
Because I know that some of the companies that we work for, their company policy is you can't make eye contact for longer than 3 seconds. I make eye contact with everybody I talk to. So, if I look at you for longer than 3 seconds, I mean, what am I supposed to do at
Sure.
that point? I mean, it's hard to have a conversation with someone and then try to be thoughtful of
It's
the
hard
fact
to
that
keep score on something so
right.
subjective.
And it's a
you know.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you have to stand a certain distance. maintain eye contact, but only for
Right.
3
you
seconds.
can't comment on
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
What lovely elbows you have.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if somebody looks nice, what's wrong with giving somebody a compliment?
Right. And
If
you
it-
look nice
if
today,
it's-
Hank.
well,
I have to
thank
say,
you.
I haven't seen that shirt before.
You've been trying to get down my pants for a long time.
But what irritates me probably more than anything is a lot of the men, if they say, "Hey honey, how you doing today?" or "Hey sweetheart," that's just the way they talk.
Yeah, it's just
I-
country
that-
for some people.
I don't
Yeah.
let that get under my
Me
skin.
neither.
But
Right.
what bothers me is when they feel like they have to manhandle me. I don't need to be
Yeah, or start
manhandled,
touching or something like that. Yeah.
or they feel like they have to protect me, so they become my protector. So people have asked me, "Well, do you feel safe out there around all those men?" Oh yeah. They all feel like they
They've
have
all
to
got
protect
their
me. So,
shining armor on. I guess.
It is interesting. I've had two different sides to it. A lot of the workers and laborers became protective of me. If we were ending a shift at 3 a.m., they would make sure that we were all together and going out to our cars together,
Right.
that sort of thing. So I really appreciated that, But the other side of that is that, in the middle of the night, working those same shifts, I've been made to feel uncomfortable because I'm secluded.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where you're not quite sure what's going to happen. So as a female, I just know that I'm usually outnumbered and outweighed at all times.
Just try to be prepared
Absolutely.
for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
I bet it feels like you got a den of lions and suddenly you're the gazelle,
I definitely, anytime I was made to feel uncomfortable, I definitely addressed it. Maybe I had to compose myself because there was some times where I didn't feel comfortable and I needed to get out of the situation first,
Yeah.
and then I addressed it. And I'll give a quick story on that. I was at the business, the one off of Highway 6 that we were talking about. And I was kind of cornered. It was a conference room, and the only way that I could plug into my printer was an outlet that was on a far wall. And I had somebody that was blocking the doorway, and he was asking me to go out to the car with them and things of that sort. And I didn't like where it was going,
Right.
and my crew actually had already gone to do their tasks, so I knew that they could hear me in a sense, but I wasn't sure how far they were. And so I just made it very aggressive and said, you will not talk to me this way. And I put all my stuff up, and I put my backpack kind of between me when I passed him in the doorway, because he sure didn't move. And I made it known, like, he will not talk to me that way. And I ended up telling the superintendent that was
I
on
would,
site,
yeah,
and I
definitely.
said, "Hey, I'm going home. I don't feel comfortable with this. I don't feel comfortable with this person being here." I reported it to my company. I reported it to his company. I did not report it to said business, but my company said, "You know what? We're going to take you off of that project for right now until we do an investigation and figure it out." And I didn't figure it out until about 2 or 3 days later that they just took me off the project. They didn't do an investigation or anything like
they
that.
removed
They
you.
removed me.
Wow.
They removed me.
Wow.
And I thought for sure that they would just have my back and that they
Yeah.
would understand where I was coming
Yeah,
from.
and that's hurtful. It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
that particular person, I sent the emails to put it in writing. I did what I needed to do, and that individual ended up sending me probably the next day, because he probably was trying to open communication to see if he had upset me. Sent me a YouTube link. It didn't say anything to the email. Didn't say anything. It was a YouTube link, and I sent the message back and I said, "I will not, and I'm not going to open this. I don't know what it is that you're
Right.
trying to send me." And he said, "Well, if it was, some kind of way that you took it last night, I was just kidding and I was just joking and that whole thing." And I guess when a woman shoots you down, you just feel horrible about it. Or
He's
They
trying
didn't
to-
take you seriously.
I was
He's
so
trying to
upset.
save his ass is what
Yeah,
he's doing.
yeah. I was really, really upset about that. That time I did have to walk away, and I addressed it in a separate way. I said, "Do not send me stuff like this. I don't
Yeah.
need to know anything about you."
So have you had any similar experiences like that? I mean, especially being out like on a big oil rig with 200 guys. I would imagine so.
Well, no, not really. I think I had one job where that he was explaining to you earlier before here that I was working on, that they suddenly decided they wanted to hire someone else.
Right.
And never gave me a reason as to why they took me off that job site. And so that was very hurtful, because I'm like, I'm just as capable of doing the job. I've had the training. I just need to get recertified in that area.
Right.
But being offshore, there are some men, the older men especially, that just don't want the women out there. They think that women cause problems when you're in an all-male environment like that, and it's distracting to the men. And I'm like, I'm just here to work and make money just like everybody else. So
it's just
I stay to myself a lot.
It's an antiquated corporate
It's an
culture.
old,
Is what it
old
is.
school attitude.
Yeah, very much
A
so.
lot like racism, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, racism's an old school attitude.
They're old school. They didn't want me there until they had a problem, and they had to come to me.
Yeah.
And then we go back to, that's building up the trust now. Okay, you can trust me. I'm sorry, but I'm it. You're going to have to talk to me.
So do you think there's a resolution? I mean, like a front end resolution where you don't have to wait until an incident happens to build trust, or you don't have to, have a confrontation with an individual? I mean, do you think there should be, like there's a safety department in some companies, you think there should be a sexual harassment department or a discrimination department, or an entity that handles something like that on the front end
HR
with
takes
training?
care of
Yeah, but
Yeah.
HR didn't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends on the HR. Too.
I think it also depends on the person.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always made my presence known. I always would be with the crew. I mean, I did orientation. I did any kind of safety toolbox talks or anything like that. I did all of that, and I think just interacting with the individuals every single day, letting them see me, letting them see my role, because it got to the point where they respected my role. Maybe they didn't respect that a woman was in this position, but
they saw you
respected
as a
my
professional.
role. Yes.
I always try to say, hey, hi, how are you, good morning, and make that effort to talk to them and not be snotty or come off being, like a bitch or something.
Yeah.
I try not to do that. I try to be friendly with them. So it almost depends on how they respond to me.
You got to develop some kind of rapport.
You
Right.
do.
Becky and I actually worked on a project together, and it was a pretty good project. It was about a year and a half, something around there. And she wasn't privy to some of the meetings that I was in, but regarding her position, being the medic on site, and she was on site in the trailers as this building was being built, it was understood and told to the contractors that they were not to go to Becky. They were more concerned about their numbers, recordables, incidents, and that
Right.
sort of thing. And I really don't know what it was. The project director at the time was not a fan of a medic being out there, because if a medic was out on that construction site, then they couldn't sweep things under the rug as easy.
Right.
They
Right.
did,
Right.
but as easy.
They didn't want
Right.
that set of
They
eyes
saw
on.
me as a
Correct.
threat and not a help.
Correct. And there would be times where there was incidents on site, and she wouldn't find out about it until we heard the ambulance come. We had an incident
Really?
where there was a struck by. Yes.
What a
struck
slap in
by.
the face that was.
Yes.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And it was almost a fatality, actually, if the person hadn't rolled out of the way, but that's a whole other story. And no one told Becky that had occurred. And we have ambulances show up, and we were just kind of...
They're asking me what's going on. I'm no clue.
No clue. And in the
Oh, no.
in these meetings, that project director would say, you report it to us first before it comes to Becky. We've had, and some of those would have been recordables, actually, OSHA recordables. And it
But
was,
I wonder if that's because she's a female, or if it's just because she's the safety person.
I think it was a little bit of everything. I think that initially it was rejected that she was even on this project, because again, they couldn't sweep things under the rug
Right.
if somebody was out there. But I think that the best interest of the workers was not in mind. It was just finishing the project, and so
Well,
they
that's always
saw
the
her
bottom
as
line.
a roadblock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
sometimes
was
the
a
She
bureaucracy.
invited me to do, each company had to do like little 5-minute safety talks on things. So she invited me to come in and do their safety talk prior to their meeting, and he walked in and he hit the roof
Yeah.
that
Really?
I was in there. Yeah, hit the roof. He did not want me in there.
Wow.
And then finally he calmed down, and I think between Brandi and some of the other people said she's just doing the safety talk, then she's leaving.
Yes.
Yeah, not a big deal.
And then it wasn't too much longer after that where he kind of started talking to me a little bit more.
Mhm.
So then him and I started to build up that rapport.
Which was really
you know.
unfortunate for the workers, because Becky
Yeah.
had a lot of information in safety and as far as health on the construction site. We look at trends. We look to see if it's the same incident that's
Sure.
happening over and over again.
Makes
and
sense,
she needs
yeah.
to be prepared if there's a hazard where she might need some sort of equipment, particular equipment for that, if something were to happen.
Right. May be able to prevent the next one.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
We tried to help each other out, but again, she walked onto that construction site with all of the workers around her being directed not to go to her.
yeah.
Wow.
And they also thought if they saw me, they thought there was a problem, and they didn't want any problems.
Right.
So I couldn't even just go do a safety walk around, just go a general
Right.
check just to see how things were going.
So I have a little funny story about that. When I was on the construction site, they used to yell out Omaha. Well, I didn't know. I'm from Chicago. I didn't know why they were yelling out Omaha, and I don't watch football. And so they were changing the play whenever I would walk around because they were doing something that was risky,
Yeah,
and they
they
wanted to
called
make sure
it
that
audible.
They didn't want to get caught.
Wow.
Well, it's a quarterback that used to do that. Was that Montana?
No,
Who?
Peyton.
Was it? Yeah, it was Peyton. You're right.
And I just I just thought, I was like, why are they yelling out Omaha? But I embraced it. I actually put it on my hard hat. I put Omaha just so that they know that I know
Yeah.
that I'm coming.
And that's funny too.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that was one of the nicer names we were called.
That's the one you heard.
Yeah, that's the one I heard.
And so it sounds like that's probably part of the reason why a lot more women aren't involved in these fields. But what got you guys to get involved in this? I mean, and you probably could have done anything else. You're both intelligent, obviously, could have done whatever you wanted. Why did you pick the field that you did and being dumped in the middle of just this man soup, So,
So,
Yeah.
I came from an engineering firm, and I started at document control, which was bottom of the barrel,
Right.
and that actually worked out to my advantage because I saw all the drawings, the plotted drawings, P&IDs, mechanical, electrical, everything.
Right.
And I just didn't see it as something of documentation. I actually asked the engineers, explain this to me. And what that did is it set the tone for my future when I was actually on the construction site going, oh, this is what shows them how to make it. So no one really understood that I knew how to read drawings when I walked out onto the construction site, and that maybe things couldn't fly by me as easy as maybe
Right.
someone that didn't know. So I tried to absorb that information. When I got the opportunity to join safety, honestly, I took my OSHA 30 because I was bored. I was on a project. It hadn't started yet. We were kind of just all twiddling our thumbs. And so they said, oh, do the OSHA 10. And I thought, well, the 30 surpasses it. And I'm going to
Right.
be here a couple months, before anything kicks off. So I just took the 30 and I fell in love with the idea of making sure that people go home safe the way they came in. And so when I did my safety reports, I definitely looked for trends. If something happened, how could we have prevented it? Job safety analysis, that kind of things. And then if something did happen, then I was involved in the root cause analysis meetings that we would have. So that was really important to me too.
yeah.
Is just making sure that everything was laid out before a worker comes on site. That
Right.
was more important to me.
I worked for a plumbing company when I was a kid, and there was no safety people there.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the shit beat out of me on a regular basis by stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And still wear some scars today from working plumbing for a while. Which you wouldn't think plumbing is a dangerous occupation.
No.
I'm living proof.
It
He
is
can
absolutely.
hurt himself walking over there to the door.
It was
I have that
really
talent,
awful,
too.
man. It was an awful job, and to this day, every time I see PVC, I just start to get paranoid. But
Well, when I was an electrician, I was like, I'm not sure if those are hot. We need to go check the breaker. He goes, get out of here. Yeah, they're hot. Damn.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
that's
there's
just
an
not
arc
the way you
flash.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. For me, I remember way back a long time ago, junior high, we were all at a family picnic, and my grandfather had a heart attack at the pool, and there was no EMS. We were out in Koontz, Texas.
Koontz.
I've heard of that.
Koontz. And,
I think all you can drink is beer out in Koontz. They don't
That's all
have
they-
water
Well,
or
it's
nothing.
possible.
They just have beer.
Yeah, it comes out of the water fountain.
But they said
Even the
every
kids
day
drink beer.
there was always an ambulance parked there, except that Saturday was the one day they weren't there. So anyway,
Wow.
he died, and I had told myself at that time I never want to be put in a position of not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
So I've always been fascinated and with the medical side of the field, and I remember my dad asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be a paramedic." I had no idea what one was, but I wanted to be one.
Oh, that's so
Right.
impactful. Thank you for that story. Oh, that's
And,
so sweet.
So finally, after years, I mean, even after we were married, I got my EMT, went back to school, got my intermediate, and then I got roped into the paramedic by friends because you had to have 10 people to have a class, and they had 9, so I got talked into it. But I'm glad I did because it opened a lot of doors
Right.
So
for
you
me.
were riding on an ambulance.
For 24 years.
That's something I couldn't do. And I don't know if it's the blood, because I can take a deer and hang it up and the guts go everywhere and skin it out. It doesn't bother me a bit. But if I cut my finger, I'm going to pass out, man. Or if somebody else
honestly-
gets hurt.
Yeah, but that's just hand wounds, dude.
Uh,
Seriously, it is.
Really?
Yeah, like, I cut my arm really bad with that mower thing.
No big deal?
No big deal. But yeah, you hurt your hand, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, God, I'm
I
going to
got a
die.
splinter the other day. Oh, my God. And then I woke up 2 hours later. I'm sorry. We've interrupted you.
For me, the blood, the guts. No, I like the traumas. The traumas are easy.
Really?
It's the sick calls that
Yeah, trying
can
to
be
determine
20
what's going
different
on.
things.
At
Yeah.
least with the blood, you can say,
But-
this is what's wrong with you.
Right.
Yeah.
You're leaking.
But for me, when you're not emotionally attached to the person, you do what you have to do. It's a job. You go in, this person's hurt. You do what you have to do. But what turned the tables on me is if it was someone I knew, then it put a
Yeah.
whole different spin on it.
When did that happen?
Well, I actually wasn't on the call, but I knew the kid, and we knew his parents. We bowled with them. Brian was on the call, and he was driving drunk and hit a tree.
Wow.
And it killed him. The kids are also where I have so many vivid memories of calls that I've been on that involve kids that I know every detail
Yeah.
of that call.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Don't think I could do it. I don't have the mentality for it. Too much
Not
of
everybody
I don't
too
know.
much of a comedian. As soon as somebody came to me and they were bleeding, I'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna die."
I don't know.
So-
You have to. It does take a special kind of person to do what we do
Yeah,
Yeah, no
it really
doubt about
does.
that.
because everybody's not cut out.
And
for
thank
it.
God for you, because I've needed medical attention more than once, unfortunately. But yeah, everybody's always been professional, and except for one lady that gave me a tetanus shot without any warning. She just walked up and hit me with it.
Oh,
Oh, I thought I was going to
You
die.
didn't get the alcohol rub or anything?
No,
Oh, wow.
no, none of that. She just walks up and stabs it and pushes it.
Grief, man.
It's like, you'll be all right. I'm like, no,
I
I'm
was
not.
Nurse of the corn.
at the facility
She was
one
rough.
time on Highway 6 that we were talking about earlier, and they were having a basketball tournament. And one of the guys, I don't know, he did something, cut his finger or something,
Hand wounds are the worst. I'm
and
telling
they
you.
were like, "Becky, he's bleeding." Okay, I mean, it wasn't anything. They wanted me to jump up and run out there and take care of it and bandage him all up, and I'm like, "He's cool, he's fine. Look, he's still playing." And they got mad at me. They actually got mad at me for not jumping up and running out there. It's like, no, I mean, that's a scratch. Come on. you know, but I guess sometimes I do pass things off a little more because I'm used to, I can tell you bad. If you want to see bad, you know, I can show you bad.
Right.
That was just a little finger
Oh,
scratch and
Yeah.
just go on your way. No big
See,
deal.
I'd freak out at stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. I'm freaking out right now. I've been transported back to 1976 when I worked at the chicken place. Big H Crispy Fried Chicken.
Hey, I remember
Gessner
that
Road.
place in the branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Gessner Road.
Right on. Yeah.
I'm back there frying chicken and eating every tater tot I can find myself eating.
Yeah.
The manager goes, "Hey, I hurt myself." I said, "Oh, what's the matter?" And he showed me his finger. It wasn't attached to his hand.
Ah.
He'd be back there slicing chicken and hollering
Oh.
at people and picking up on the chicken, and he just took his finger off. He goes, "It doesn't hurt." And I said, "It's killing me, man." He goes, "Can you drive me to the hospital?" I said, "No, but he can. Can you drive him to the hospital?" Good Lord.
Did you hear about the dude? And this is about the same time
Did y'all
that worked
retrieve the finger? Sorry.
He had the finger, and they put it on ice, and off they
Oh,
went.
okay.
I don't think it was ever reattached.
Aren't you supposed to put it in milk?
I don't know.
Sterile water.
I thought it was milk, cat's milk or something like that.
Cat's milk. Hold still, kitty cat. We got an emergency here. That'll work out fine.
Yeah. No, there's this dude that worked, and I don't remember his name, but I remember the whole story. Worked at Dairy Queen, and he smoked cigarettes and kept a lighter in his shirt pocket. And they asked him to go empty the big vat of the hot grease,
Yeah.
because they were changing out the grease. And somehow they had a valve or something
Yeah.
where it poured into a 5-gallon bucket.
Right, there's a little
Yeah,
valve and
well, he leaned over it, and his big lighter slid into it and blew up
Yeah.
while he's looking down in it.
Oh,
Right.
goodness.
Oh yeah, that was like they shut that Dairy Queen down
See,
for
that
a
could have
while.
been mitigated before that even happened.
Right.
Yeah,
they
'cause-
should have had a safety meeting with 19 guys
Exactly.
going, "Okay, what are
They
you
coulda
going to
done.
do? I'm going to empty the grease. And what tools are you going to need? And
100%.
what PPE might you need to
Yes.
have?
Yes.
The grease will be cold by the time this
Oh,
shit's
yeah,
over."
see, yeah.
Oh, my God.
It would have been so much safer if it was cold.
Yeah, exactly. Let it cool. We're
Yes.
done here for another
Exactly.
hour and a half.
Exactly.
Remember Charlie's Hamburgers?
Yeah.
I worked there for one day, and I started crying. I actually started crying.
You hurt yourself?
No, that I was at the griddle. I had it down, and I was cool. But then the orders started coming up, and it's this one with tomatoes, this one without onions, this with this.
I
And
know.
finally I
Everybody
started bawling.
wants it different.
And I told the manager, I actually said this out loud. I said, anybody who smokes weed cannot work here.
You don't go to work high, man. Well, back then we all did, I guess.
Yeah, it was bad. But, I remember going home and telling my parents, I said, there's no way I could do that. And then I got scared because I thought, if I can't do that, I can't do anything. I'm crippled.
Aw.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
too hard on yourself. And yet here you are now.
Yeah, I went to work for a glass company after that.
Yeah, I remember.
I worked in a restaurant one time and they told me I wasn't cut out to be a waitress.
Really?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
told that story too.
Yeah.
That's one job I got fired from.
I
You
got
know how you
fired.
come in every day at 4? We don't need you to do that anymore. My sister was the hostess, so it's like, where you going? They don't want me here anymore. Good luck. I hear there's a waiter opportunity open. But
Hey, waitressing's a hard job. That's
It
a
is.
tough job.
that is a tough
Yeah.
job. I've
Especially-
respected wait
yeah.
staff ever since.
Oh yeah, yeah. They put you in the right restaurant. You have a 4-top and a 2-top and a 6-top, and
I did
you're
good till they
mopping
got
at
the
the same
8 top.
time. There's too
You
much
all
crap
want something
going on.
different to drink?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey, bear with me, people. Let me write this down.
That's it. Go get it yourself.
Teammaker's right over
Come
there.
along, I'll show you- I'll show
Sweet,
you where it's at.
unsweet coffee, no sugar. Oh my
That's
God.
it.
So particular.
People are difficult, and they're
I
getting.
think
more
we're
and more that way.
digressing.
Yeah, we've veered off the topic. It happens.
Well, it sounds like we're kind of harping on the horror stories of what we've come across, but we have come across really, really supportive men in the industry
Oh yeah,
too,
absolutely.
that don't treat us any different, that are encouraging about learning about their tasks, and they're
Okay.
not dumbing it down
And
for
I'm
us.
I'm interested to find out, were these generally younger guys? Were they generally more educated
Oh.
guys? Were they generally white guys, black guys? I mean,
Man bun guys.
Yeah. So yeah.
I had a gentleman that was an older gentleman. He was my boss, and he was my boss for a short amount of time. And I wish I would have had him a little bit longer. Unfortunately, they let him go. But he taught me so much in the short amount of time, and just treated me like everybody else. And it was so nice
Yeah.
for that to happen. And if that boss is watching, he's an amazing guy. But I've also had bosses that I check the box. I check the box as a Hispanic worker. I check the box as a female.
Mm-hmm.
And because I look young, you know, it's one of those things where I'm just kind of generalized. I'm not mentored. So sometimes that happens too.
I bet a lot of people that you happen upon in your place of work are thinking, she checked the box. She don't know shit, but she checked the box.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And in reality, to the bigger construction companies that I worked for, I did check the box.
Mm-hmm.
I was the requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And but I always take those opportunities to show and showcase what I know. And so if we looked at it like statistic wise, according to my counterparts and my colleagues, if we look at the safety that happens on my job sites, I've never had an OSHA recordable at all. And yes, there's been near misses and you know,
Mm-hmm.
falling objects and things of that sort. But if you look at it from severity level, I think that it made me almost more attentive, because I made it my purpose to be fully there, 100% there, and especially for the crew.
The term near
See,
miss
that's-
is
I
always...
think, I think that's a female trait, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Women are a whole lot more focused and dedicated to singular thing.
Detail-oriented.
Men are all over the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that whole term near miss always kind of bothered me, because a near miss is a freaking collision,
Yeah.
right? They nearly missed. I remember having to fill out a near miss card every day, where the place that remained nameless.
The facility.
How many near misses did you see today? I didn't see any. You got to see at least 5 near misses a day.
Wow.
They're not near misses. I'll come up with 5. Look around. There's a screw on the floor. Dink, there's one. Oh, got paint's peeling. Is that lead paint? It needs to be checked into. There's 2. It becomes such a redundant bureaucracy
Policy,
that
yeah.
it didn't mean anything
Exactly.
anymore.
100% agree.
They laughed at me one time because same thing for me. I had to turn in a card every day, and so my safety card was on the ducks, mama duck and baby ducks crossing the road.
Each
And they
one
would-
was a near miss.
and they
I
would
got
stop
9 of those
traffic.
bastards in one spot.
They would stop traffic,
Yeah.
and there would be cars at the 4-way stop waiting for the ducks to go across the streets.
One time they got a guy out there to remove the ducks because they were getting too many and in the way and everything. I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was a complete meltdown. Oh my God, what's he doing? The dude's out there with a bow and arrow. Thunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that part. I'm glad I
You're
didn't
not supposed
see
to
that.
remove them that way. Oh my God! I thought they were going to evacuate the place for a day of sorrow or something.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Because let me tell you, I was on the bat remediation project there.
Those bats were something else.
The bats in the parking garage were horrific,
You
right?
could always tell where they were because there'd be a pile of bat shit and go, okay, the bats live
There
here.
was guano, yes, and that was the thing is one of the things that they made us do was put together this huge thing because bat guano is actually really poisonous to
Yeah, it's bad.
to
Yeah.
humans, and so we had to remove them humanely, and so they
Did
came
you
up.
do it by playing country music?
It was
Yeah, that put them to sleep, and then you can put them in the box.
that would have been significantly cheaper than what
Oh,
they
I bet.
But yeah, those policies, and I mean, it just got ridiculous, just
Yeah.
absolutely absurd.
I gotta know, man. How'd you get rid of the bats? I gotta know.
Okay, so this is what you do. They've embedded themselves in the garage
In the crevices, yeah.
right? So they took this adhesive mesh and they put it over the crevices so that the bats can leave at night because they go to prey on insects and things of that sort.
Right.
But they couldn't come back in. And so when they couldn't come back into their home, then it was the thought process behind it was that they would find another place to go outside,
Right.
Yeah.
which was just the next parking garage over.
What was it, about $250,000 they spent to get rid of the buzzards? Remember the buzzards?
Yes, the buzzards.
And they strung low tension wire where it would just hurt their feet if they tried to park on the ledges, times 20 times 30, several different skyscrapers up here.
Why so many wild animals at this place? What's going on?
I haven't got to the
Inside
catfish
now.
yet.
Oh, the catfish, yeah.
It was the
Maybe
funniest
it's
thing to be. It was the funniest thing to be up on the 30th floor, looking out the window at these buzzards gently stepping over this high-powered wire that they spent all that money. People hanging on the other side of the building put this stuff together,
Yes.
and the
That's
buzzards were
crazy.
just like, "Don't touch that." Okay, we're cool here.
You know
Animals are smart.
what brought me out there, actually the reason why they hired me for that campus, and this happened a week before, was someone had committed suicide, had shut down his
On the parking
computer
garage of
on
Westlake
the parking
One.
garage and jumped off.
There were several on campus.
Really?
There were several. Yes, there were several
I knew of
fatalities.
one.
There were several fatalities on campus that were very hush hush about.
Mhm.
Very hush hush.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's always kind of been interesting how the larger corporations or companies that we've worked at, and particularly in oil and gas, they don't want media coverage at all.
No.
Right.
So
Well,
that's
of course
why
not, because they have stockholders.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's why that safety culture was maybe not reporting every single little
Right.
thing, and having this idea that the medic on site is going to tell the world what's going on, and
Now,
so
were you legally required to record stuff to OSHA on a regular basis?
if quarterly, quarterly, yes, but if there was a recordable, then it needs to be immediately.
Wow.
And I've had OSHA
And I'm
come
sure
out
there
to
was,
my job
and I'm
sites.
sure there was liability behind that. So
Absolutely.
if you were faking documents or whatever, they
100%.
could bust you.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
the way that I always took it, because according to my certifications, I'm certifying that this is indeed what
Right.
it is, and I'm a competent person.
Yeah.
So for me, I took that responsibility seriously. Now, it'd be really easy to go ahead and get on the ladder, just do it really fast or
Yeah.
something like that, which a lot of people wanted me to do. I mean, even
Yeah.
some of the higher ups were just let them do it. Just go take a long lunch break or something
You
like
would
that.
really hate me on any job. I know you would. You'd be like, Hank, really? No. See where it says "do not step"?
That's where you're stepping.
I didn't see that. I'm only
Scratch
150
that
pounds.
off, and it don't count no more.
And I'll tell you, it'll be that one time something happens, and
Right.
but I've had OSHA come out to my job site, and I know people get worked up about
Omaha.
it, and yeah, and I just never got worked up about it because I was confident in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know necessarily if it was appreciated originally, because at the beginning of your job site, they're like, oh great, the safety lady's here. But it's kind
Yeah.
of like what Becky was saying, is that, it's like, oh, great, she's here. But the minute something happens, it's,
Yeah, and everybody say, "Help
it's
me."
showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
hmm Absolutely.
Wow.
But I did have some really good bosses. I had some amazing bosses. Well, just one in
I have
particular.
two.
The other ones are.
So were you out
One out of
offshore
all.
when Deepwater Horizon popped
No,
off?
Nope. But I was right in the middle of all of that at the BP campus
Uh-huh.
when they brought in all the cameras and set all that up, and actually had
Yeah, the Beehive was right over there in
yeah,
that
Westlake
fourth floor. I
four.
think. Yeah.
On the fourth floor, and Diane Haynes, who was the head nurse medical over the Gulf of Mexico,
Uh-huh.
came to me like late 3:00 in the afternoon, and she said, starting tonight we want 24/7 coverage on the fourth floor. And I said, well, it's going to take me a little bit to get everything together, but I organized and put all of that together.
Wow.
And she wrote a really nice letter to my company, and she said out of all of the EMS services they had working from Texas to Florida, that we were the best ones she ever had, and the most organized. That made me feel good.
Yeah, of course.
No kidding. Coming from her too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to support each other, not only as women supporting each other in our careers, but there's been a lot of men that have supported us as well, and they've given us opportunities. There's some meetings high-end meetings that happen that people like fly in for, that are at said company, and I was invited to speak at those. For the larger construction company that I worked for, I toured to 2 or 3 different conferences to speak about women in construction and what their concerns are, or how to lift each other up. And it's not to segregate ourselves. It's absolutely, at least I don't take it that way. I'm not
Right.
interested in being segregated. I'm just interested in being respected on a professional level. And luckily, I've been blessed to have many of people that were willing to do that and willing to take that chance and willing to put me out there. Yes, because I was a female, but at the same time, it worked in my favor, and hopefully kind of gave some insight. I had a gentleman ask me one time, how do I not make a woman feel uncomfortable? I mean, obviously I'm a woman. He's a man. How do I not make someone feel
He
uncomfortable?
must have been a creep, and he knew it. You know?
Yeah. What am I doing wrong?
I said, well, don't send questionable, text messages or something, or emails. Don't put me on an email chain of something inappropriate, that
Quit
kind
with
of
the
thing.
pictures, dude.
Don't video. Yes. Do
Yeah.
not videotape me. Do not take pictures of me when I'm unaware. That's happened.
Really?
Oh,
You've had people
no.
videotape you?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you'll know, we're videotaping you.
It's consented, but but yeah. I mean,
How
stuff
did
like
you
that
find
happens.
out?
Well, okay, so in safety, my phone number's all over the construction site. It's a requirement,
Sure.
just in case something were to happen.
Of
So
course.
I'm giving orientation to 300 or 400 men, and I'm sending them about their way, and they all know who the safety girl is, but I don't know who any of them are. So yeah, there were some times where there was some text messages and stuff like that
Yeah,
that
that's
weren't
kind of a weird
that-
situation.
Yeah, that were
Yeah.
a little bit uncomfortable, and I didn't really like that. But I had some men, actually. I had a gentleman that was just a level 1 engineer. He'd been with the company for just a couple of months, and he said, "Give me that number. I'll call that number and I'll find out who it is, and I'll take care of it." And he wasn't coming from a place like, you can't handle it. At that moment, I really couldn't handle it. I was mad. I was livid.
Sure.
But I appreciated that it came from a place of, I'm going to tell him that he needs to respect you and your position on a professional level. He wasn't protecting me because he didn't think I couldn't handle it. He was just doing
Yeah.
the right thing.
Right.
And because I had that prior experience with the company that had kind of taken me off of a project and set me aside, I appreciated that he was willing to do that for me. And that was just a colleague. That wasn't a boss. That wasn't anything
in some
else.
situations, I think they just need to hear it from another man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, I
I
would
think
but
so.
I refused to give my phone number out, and the company I was working for were collecting all cell phones, and everybody had to turn cell phones in, and then they were going to give us a percentage of what we used off of our cell phone, our personal cell phones.
Mhm.
And I fired off a letter, and
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving 300 plus men my personal cell phone number.
Yeah,
I said,
that's-
this is work.
That's
And
stupid
I'm
on the
gonna
face
keep
of it
a
to me
work
to even do that.
phone. So then they came back, and I was the only one worldwide in my company that had a company cell phone. Everybody else had to turn theirs in, but they let me keep mine.
I think it's good that you set that standard, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes we have to do that. We have to set those standards and just say, look, this is where my comfort level is, and there's not going to be any
Yeah.
wiggle room. This is
So
where
when
I'm
that
at.
phone rang, I knew it was business. When my phone rang, it was personal.
Right.
And I wasn't going to mix the
No
two
mystery
of those up.
text or any
Right.
BS like
Right.
that.
So, do you think more women in your field would help the situation and help, I guess, men to understand that, you are pro and you do know what you're doing and you can be relied upon even in, terrible circumstances? And,
I think
I wonder if it's just the fact that there's not so many women in the field
There's not, I think.
that it's just kind of unusual for some
Sometimes
guys,
the men, it's probably funny now, but sometimes when they come in and they'll talk to me and I have to baby them and, everything's going to be okay. And then the mom comes out, and then they'll walk out and I'll go, oh my God.
Yeah. See, that's me. I'm a big puss. If I get hurt, I'm going to bawl and cry and act like a little kid. Want to be stroked and all
It's
that.
like-
I can dig it.
So you feel it hurt more than anything, huh?
Well, I mean, it's funny you should mention that because I've been to other countries where women are totally integrated into what we would consider in America a male-dominated field, like construction. For example, I went to Colombia, and I went to Bogota, I went to Medellin, and that's it's like the main cities of
Right.
Colombia.
Yeah.
And I saw female workers, just as many female workers, doing landscaping, doing construction.
Right.
It was almost 50-50, and I was shocked that was the case. And I was like, how interesting. And I don't know if you've ever been to Colombia, but it's a beautiful country. And
But Mark's a geographical genius, so
Is
he
he?
knows where everything's at.
I like the
now.
jungles and the highlands.
Oh, and it was interesting because I was like, well, is this like an American thing that it's a male-dominated industry? Because when I went to Asia, I went to Indonesia, I saw something similar, and I was just kind of wondering why
It probably
is it?
is.
It's cultural.
Yeah, I'm
but
sure it's
why-
cultural.
If we are advanced as America, why is it that, let's say, third world countries or countries that are
Maybe it's their lack of advancement where the women are not sheltered and taken care of, and the men get up off their ass and go to work.
It's more of a have to, you know. Maybe the women are needed in those
I'm
places.
just playing
you know,
devil's
because-
advocate.
just because they need the numbers out there. You know,
Somebody's
they
got to
need
make the
numbers work.
sandwiches, man.
you're going to get kicked under the table.
I know it.
You're going to get kicked under the table.
I'm teasing.
But no, I think it was eye opening to me. It was
Right.
eye opening to me. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'm a rarity of female in construction, which worldwide maybe not. Maybe it's just here in the U.S. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would think so.
I don't understand, like, when you go into these companies and they'll have signs up, we're not your mother, pick up after yourself. Why do we have to remind people to pick up after themselves,
Yeah.
or clean up, or we shouldn't have to do that.
There's a lot of stuff we shouldn't have
Yeah.
to do in this country that we do on a continual basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that part's getting worse.
I will say I do enjoy a woman-only porta-john. That is that.
They have those?
They
Yes.
well usually on the construction site they'll.
See, I'd have to look inside.
they're pink.
I would
I
have
think
to
they're
look. I
pink.
want to see what's
Which-
different. You
Which
know?
I don't need it to be gender specific as far as like the pink,
Yeah.
but yeah, if the construction sites have a female only porta john, I am a happy camper because
Nice.
it
I
is
didn't
not
even
so
know they had
nice when when there's not
Wow.
one.
So are they different inside?
No.
No, they're the
Cleaner,
same?
just not a
They're cleaner.
urinal.
Yeah, I bet they're cleaner.
Much cleaner, much
They
cleaner.
got scented pepper with little flowers on them and stuff.
Yeah.
It is. It's great. No.
Wow.
No, but little things like that I can appreciate. I don't necessarily take it as, oh, she's a woman, she's required,
Right.
No, I don't take it as that. I actually appreciate that. That's fantastic.
All right, so here's a tough question. How do you feel about women in the military? And not only women in the military, but actively on the battlefield.
I think they can contribute just like any other soldier.
Really?
My only hesitation would be is that we're outnumbered and outweighed, and
Yeah.
so physically.
Yeah, I was going to talk about biology.
Yes.
mean,
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we could be overcome and we could be harmed. But
Right.
again, we have to surround ourselves in a professional manner, and that's male and female. And if and when that happens, then we can be in a safer
If
environment.
they can physically do the job,
Absolutely.
I don't see
Right.
why not. I mean, it's the same thing that you go through female firefighters. They have to go through the same training.
I've met a couple of
That-
female firefighters are tough.
As long
the
as they
guys
don't
are.
have
That
to
equipment is
lower
heavy.
the standards
Yeah.
for anybody. I don't care what you're doing,
You
male or
have to-
female.
But see, I just have
You
to
have
be
to
honest. I
pull
draw the
your weight.
line at the battlefield. And the reason why is because I would be one of those guys that if I knew there was a female with me on the battlefield,
the argument.
I'd have one eye on her to make sure that she wasn't getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be that nurturing part or whatever you want to call it to try
Yeah.
to
Protection.
protect her.
Right.
And I think there'd be other guys doing that too. And being that they would be doing that, they wouldn't be focused on the job at hand. And
Half
maybe
of
it
them
wouldn't
are
be as
trying
good.
to
You know?
date her.
And I know
the
that
other
probably
half are-
sounds bad, ladies.
No,
but
not at all.
That's just, I'm just being honest. That's
No.
where I would be if I
ap-
was on the
I
battlefield.
appreciated
with a
the way
chick.
that you explained that, because if you're saying that I'm a distraction and that, like you said, like wanting to date or something like that, then I would be like, okay, well, then you just need to control your emotions.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying, I can appreciate that because I do care about other human beings. And I would
Right.
be the same way if another female was on my job site. I would be a little bit protective of her too. So I
Right.
completely agree.
And I think that just comes from an upbringing, you know,
Sure.
because I was brought up kind of chivalrous, you know, open the door and, you know, stand up when a lady stands up and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Women are the weaker sex.
So-
It's true. There's, like you just said, there's exceptions to all the rules. There's Amazons in the Amazon.
So biologically speaking is what you're saying.
Right.
So
Thank
as far
you
as
for the
as
clarification.
far
you
as
know what I mean.
bone size, muscle mass,
General,
things
yeah,
like that.
and not,
Yeah,
not
speed,
strong,
agility.
you know,
Right.
as a general rule.
Plus, I think the other side to it that is if
But I don't, you know, I don't know if I'd say weaker sex. I'd say that
Not mentally
I'd say
weaker, probably
bio-
mentally stronger.
biologically they're different, but I don't know if I'd be willing
Thank
to go
God.
weaker because
we can bear
of
children.
the way that they think about things and of the way they see the world, because they see it different than we do.
Right.
That probably balances that out better.
Of course it does.
And
Some of
so-
the best leaders of nations in the world have been women. Gandhi.
Hitler wasn't a chick. What are you talking about? No, I had to.
Not even
It's-
either.
That ain't even.
it's still too soon.
You're reaching, man.
Still too soon for that one, I guess.
I
But,
think the biggest problem women have in the military is they don't all want to wear the same outfit,
really?
What do you mean?
all the same color outfit.
All the firefighter chicks that I know wear all the same outfits as the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. First on the truck, man.
Well, I
First
know
one
if
truck.
if I'd have a girl out and we take her to a party and her friend also has a red dress on, it's like take me home. One of us has to change
But that's
clothes.
a social thing, man. You know?
True.
But when you're in
I mean,
a
I'm the
group,
same way. If I go to
wear
a
a
party and there's
uniform.
another dude wearing the same
military
shirt,
is
I
a
want to beat him up.
uniform. Firefighter is a uniform.
Yeah.
EMS, like I ran in the fire department, we all wore the same uniform,
Right.
the same colors, you know, so I know what you're saying, but
So
in that,
when you were a paramedic, did you work with a man counterpart normally, or was there a female
I
counterpart?
actually prefer the male counterpart.
Okay.
Sometimes I did have a female partner, but in the fire department, we always had the engine crew, and they did all the heavy lifting. I
Mm-hmm.
admit, I struggle with the stretcher. I'm short, so
Mm-hmm.
a taller person where, like, if Mark were to lift the stretcher on his end, he's lifting it to his waist, but for me, I'm having to come up to here. I don't have the upper body strength. And
It's the
I
first
admit
time
it.
I've been referred to as tall.
Well,
Awesome,
you
isn't
know
it?
what I mean.
Feels good.
Congratulations.
But I prefer the male because for the strength part of having to carry stuff, because my equipment is heavy. I weighed at one time, it's 75 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
So were there certain aspects of the job though that were always put off on you, and do you think any of those were because you were a female?
Sometimes it depended on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a little girl, or if it was a woman who had just been raped, or a woman who had just been beaten up by her partner,
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes being a female handling
Mm-hmm.
that, because we were a little more
Right.
understanding.
I bet.
That makes
I guess,
sense.
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
more gentle
Yeah.
than what a male would be, because they just got through getting beaten
Yeah,
up
but
by
I
a
think
man.
I
They
was
didn't
I
wanna
think
see
I
a
was
man
referring more
but,
to just standard practice like blood pressure taking and things like that. I mean, was that were certain things like that passed off to you? And do you think they were just because you were a female
No.
and you couldn't handle the bigger things, or
Yeah.
at least those guys saw it that way?
no, not
You know?
not for me particular.
Yeah.
Because
In my
most of the
experience, I
time
was.
Really?
I was the one in charge, so I was telling them to do the blood pressure. I was telling them what to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter how high I had gotten in my career, and there was times where I was leading the meetings and things of that sort, normally somebody wouldn't really know that I was the one that was presenting, or that was the lead of the room. And sure enough, I'd get any questions like, do you think you can take notes? Can you take notes on this meeting? Or can you, so do you know where the copy room is or whatever? And
Right.
I'm just kind of like, why
Yeah.
are you asking me?
I've
You
got
know?
I've got a
When
great,
will you be getting the coffee?
Yes.
Where are the cookies? I got a great example
What a
of
mess.
how far things have come.
Okay.
And it's a story my mom tells, and I don't think she'll mind me telling it here. She was.
I didn't do it, Mrs. Hogan,
You weren't born in the 50s.
but I know your mom. And so
Yeah.
I'm apologizing now because I know what you're getting ready to do.
Oh, you know the story?
No, but I know you. I know you.
You mind if I continue? Mark's think tank. How does that sound to you?
I like it.
All right.
Go with it.
She's applying for a job as a secretary. Back then, they were all secretaries. They were typists. They took dictation. They took notes. They ran and got the coffee. They made sure the coffee was hot. She's interviewing for a job to be this guy's secretary. Job pays, he told her this up front, the job pays $300 a month for a secretary, $350 a month for a good time secretary.
Oh.
And was just, that's matter of fact. Which which secretary are you going to be?
That's unfortunate.
And she chose the regular secretary. But that's just where people's mind were right there, you know.
Yeah.
And they had to go get another girl to take to the meetings and stop off at the hotel or whatever. But that was a standard procedure, at least where she was being interviewed.
So let me just ask from a male perspective, if you've walked into a room and you're there for whatever meeting's going on and there's nothing but men there and a female walks in, do you feel different? Do you feel like the atmosphere changes just a little bit because a female walks in?
I do,
Probably.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And my first assumption is, okay, this is the chick that's running this. That's always my first assumption. I don't know why.
Here
but
comes
that's
the
just-
authority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look out, straighten your tie. You know, yeah.
Do you
boss
feel
is in the house.
as though I've personally come across women that are either intentionally abrasive, trying to prove their worth or their point, or I've come across that just want to be friendly and, you know, not make any waves or anything like that. So what have you guys experienced?
Then you have the ones that want the trouble.
Yes,
That
there's
are
always
asking
those.
for it. Hey,
There's
I'm
always
here to
those.
have a good time.
You know, I've got, and you know, we run a computer business, and I've got two entities that I can think of right off the bat that are both ran by really intelligent women, smart women. One who is totally abrasive and doesn't need to be, because she's seriously, you can take her and get 100 people from Montgomery County, put them all in a room. She's instantly the smartest person in the room because that's just who she is, but she doesn't know it.
Right.
So she's always
Got to prove it.
trying to prove it. Then I've got another lady who's really passive, and she's also highly educated lady running a big organization, but she's very meek. You know what I mean? And so I find that to be kind of unusual. And they know each other. That's another weird thing. And I find that to be kind of unusual, you know?
Yeah.
But, and what I try to do is just treat both of them the same and let them know, hey, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And if it's something that can't be done, then I won't. And if it needs explaining, then I'll explain it. Because in our business, not everybody understands what we do
Sure.
a lot.
Sure.
So
I
a lot
had
of times I
boss
have
one
to
time that
explain it. But
I was constantly having to prove myself to him. And
yeah, and I find that to be unusual, but it seems to be something that's pretty prevalent, really.
Yeah.
You know?
He had told me several times, after about the third or fourth time, he said, I didn't want to send you here. I wanted to send somebody else. And I said, then explain to me, why do you think that I was not capable of doing this job? And he never would answer the question.
Right.
He just didn't want me out there.
I think that also goes into pay. As females in the industry, we do get paid less than men.
Yes.
And I'm a negotiator, so there have been times where I've had colleagues and I've made mid-range of my male colleagues, but I had to fight for it.
Yeah.
They weren't so giving.
And
Yeah.
non-American white males get less also. So my dad was from Holland, European, white guy, but he had a really heavy accent, almost sounded German.
He was a
you
great
know?
guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. But he never made the same as his white counterparts, his American white counterparts. And I didn't realize that until it was kind of too late. But you know, that
It's a real
looking
thing.
back on it pisses me off, you know, because Dad was a
Absolutely.
hard worker. He did the same job the other guys did, and in some cases better, you know, and he just didn't get paid the same because he was a foreigner.
Correct.
You know? Even though he was an American citizen at that
Correct.
point, he was still a foreigner because he carried that accent.
Correct.
You know?
And that goes back to
So-
that treating people like second-class citizens. I think, you know, let's be honest, we're in Texas, and we get a lot of laborers that are undocumented laborers.
Right.
And as much as they try to make a paper trail, we know what they are. And I've always been at the stance of just treating a worker as the worker that they are right there. Whether they have papers or not is irrelevant to me. I don't really care.
Better
Right.
workers.
Yeah, but the thing is that there'd be times on job sites, not any of my job sites, but I've spoke to the workers, and they've told me that they wouldn't get paid. They wouldn't get paid. They'd say, you know, do a full day's worth of work, and they just wouldn't get paid because they knew that they didn't have, you know, their papers, or they were paid at a
Any
less
recourse. Yeah.
a
I've
less
seen that happen
wage.
in restaurants.
It's bullshit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at a less wage
Kitchen
than everybody
staff,
else.
mhm.
And it's really unfortunate that it happens. And I personally kind of put myself, just because I've traveled the world, I put myself in their shoes, in that I've been in countries where I don't speak the language. I don't know what any of the signs are saying. I can't imagine finding a job in that country and trying to support myself and
You
a
would
family.
have to do like they do and find a network of like individuals to
Correct.
help you out and help you get placed somewhere.
Correct.
You know, one thing that I think a lot of people never consider, you know, if you're an undocumented worker from Mexico, you have left your home country because you had to, not because you wanted to, because you had to find a job. You had to work. You had to be able to support your family either here or back home. And it doesn't matter whether they're here or back home. You had to leave. You're coming into a hostile country because we don't like them for whatever freaking reason that is. You're working your ass off, and I know those guys feel like they have to prove themselves too.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't make the same as we do, and they get treated like shit. How would you like to go to a country and live there and be hated by the people?
So-
I mean, that would suck.
So
I
here's
think
the-
that's
You
a
know?
pretty blanket statement as far as hating the people. I think they've got a lot of people here welcoming
There
them.
are,
And
but there's a lot of
not
people who
just
hate them too. You know, so I
Who
mean,
hates them?
it's both sides. Oh, I've met a lot of people who can't stand Mexican workers.
Yeah.
You know, they're taking our jobs. They're this, they're that, the other. Oh, bullshit! It's jobs you wouldn't do anyway,
Right.
or you wouldn't do it for that wage,
Right.
or you wouldn't do it that well.
And keep in
You know?
mind, whenever an immigrant worker, regardless of what country they're coming from, comes here illegally, then they are starting their life here. Which means, if for
Right.
some reason mom at home, you know, has a heart attack or something, they can't take a flight and just rush over back and see their mother.
It's a rough deal,
They
man.
can't see the children that they left behind.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're kind of getting off topic, but there's been times where their life established here, if they leave, there is no coming back. So that last time that they said goodbye to mom, goodbye to, you know, their children and stuff like that, that's the last time they're ever going to see them.
Yeah, I think
Period.
it's a tough game for some people.
It is.
You know,
It is. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't see it one-sided. But I've worked with many of those gentlemen, and one of the gentlemen, he was from Honduras, and I asked him. I said, why is it? Just pretend like I'm completely ignorant. Why is it that the U.S. is the place that, you know, people are coming to? And he said, what I make in a day here, it would take me a month to make in my country. And I just thought,
If he was
wow.
lucky enough to have a job in his
Correct.
yeah, wow.
Correct. And I mean, we look at even Home Depot and other, you know, hardware stores and stuff like that. They'll have a crew standing outside, you know, just waiting. And some of these people are intelligent people in their country. They've gone through school. Some of them maybe not, but you know, some of them are, and they're coming here for the work. And they're literally running to whatever car's pulling up because they need that day's wage.
Yep.
And I've never ran to a job.
Yeah,
I've never physically run to a job.
I've ran away from a few.
So am I.
I think I've actually been fired more than I quit, though.
Oh.
You know? Yeah, I
We
used to
talked about that,
I used to
and
get fired a lot.
you remember one job where you quit without being asked to leave,
That's right. Yeah, there was one.
but you were fixing to get fired.
Yeah, I was going to get fired.
You saw it coming.
The writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
You know what changed my opinion about undocumented workers? For a brief time in my life, I was in the architectural fountain business. And I had hired this guy, a concrete guy, And his name was Zanato. So, hey, Zanato, if you're still alive and still out there, peace. What's going on? But this guy knew everything about concrete, and I did not. So he could build the form, and, we could make that part of the fountain that needed to be made. Well, one time he brings his sister to work. This chick is like, I don't know, 15, 16 years old.
Don't say chick.
Well, hey, I'm from the 70s. Speaks no English, And this was the day that we had to dig. I was in charge of digging 250-foot trenches from the pump room
That's
to the
300
fountain.
foot of trench.
Yeah, and they had to be separate too. So Zanato, in his language, tells her, "Hey, you're going to dig alongside this guy. Just follow him, do what he does, right?" So I'm like, okay. I felt kind of bad about a woman digging a trench for some reason. So we get halfway through this, or at least I got halfway through it. I'm halfway through. She's done with the trench. Her trench is.
She's waiting on you.
Her trench is perfect, dude. I mean, really, if you look, you could have dropped a line across it, and she wouldn't have deviated at all, and there was no line. She was digging and walking backwards.
Hand
My-
digging?
Yeah.
Not the ditch witch
Oh, no,
machine?
no. We didn't. I couldn't afford that shit, dude.
My God.
This was one of my jobs. What do you think? My trench was like, it looked like just a drunk rabbit dug it. I mean, it was just horrible. And halfway through, and I'm scratching my head going, what the hell just happened here? Here I am, I'm 25 years old, strong, healthy, half smart, and I got trenched out, beat bad by like a 15, 16-year-old girl
Yeah.
who's now eating this taco and not sweating or nothing. And so she tells me, she goes, you want some taco? And I thought, yeah, I'm hungry, I'll try. Dude, I bit just one bite into that, and I thought I was going to freaking die.
Yeah.
That was the hottest taco I ever ate. And I started sweating, had to lay down. I was like, Jesus, crazy.
I had some
And she finished my trench out.
I had some goat meat cooked in the ground with some guys on the construction crew.
Mm-hmm.
Great bunch of guys.
Good stuff.
Cabrito. And the guy says, salsa verde, the green sauce?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. And they all started looking at me until I took a bite. And my face caught on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Then
I
they
tried to
started
play
laughing.
it cool
Oh, man.
until my nose fell off, and then the game was up.
Yeah, see, I couldn't eat that stuff,
Damn, there was a
man.
lot of stuff I ate.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. But that changed my mind about it because I realized then, I said, hey, if this girl can do this, and Zanato was always over there by himself building pretty large farms and getting that stuff done and, lickety split. I thought, man, these people work. They do great.
Oh, yeah. They want to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's not an option not to come back tomorrow and work. It's supporting the whole family household, and
It's
that's
tough.
everybody,
Yeah.
Right.
female or male, whatever, doesn't matter.
But I wonder if society, at least in this country, will ever come to a time where I look at you and I don't see female, I just see human, or we look at a black guy and we don't see a black guy, we just see a guy. I mean, I wonder if that'll ever happen.
I think we're
I
getting
don't-
there.
I don't know.
I think we're a
far-
long ass way
We're
from
a
there.
long
from
way.
it.
You know?
We're a
I
long
think the
way.
aberrations are tiny, but they make themselves known as a bigger percentage of what they actually are. I think everybody's cool with everybody, 90%,
I hope.
But it's the 10% of assholes that make it bad for everybody else and make it seem like a bigger problem. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
The other part to that is that sometimes I feel like I don't want to be that part of the assholes part, and so I would be hesitant to bring something, because if we bring something to the table that maybe something made us feel uncomfortable or that we're being mistreated in some way, it's kind of the first thought that comes to mind is that, oh, you're just acting like that because you're a female.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're just
See, and that's-
you're playing
yeah.
the female card.
And it's
We
the
get
root,
that.
And I've thought about discrimination and racism a lot just in my quiet time. And I don't know, at least for me, if I could ever 100% defeat it. And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, my folks, like I said, they came from Holland, and they learned a lot about American culture by watching TV,
Yes.
watching guys like Archie Bunker, who was racist just openly.
Yes.
And so my parents learned that, and they put it upon me as a little kid. And I had to grow out of it and realize that, all these were antiquated, stupid ideas, and I shouldn't feel this way. But it's foundational because I learned it as a young child. You know what I mean? So I guess my life has been a struggle to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at a female and not see a female and just see a human, or look at a black guy and not see a black guy, just a guy.
But
I mean, and I'm just being honest.
I think it's okay to look at a female and see a female or a black guy and see a black guy or a
Yeah.
Hispanic guy or whatever. I think that's okay, because it's okay to not you're not segregating yourself. You're not saying I'm better than. You're just saying
Right.
you're almost embracing that they're different.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with that.
You can't-
But
we
it does
get to a
make me
place where-
wonder. But it does make me wonder if I see them as different. You know what I mean? Just because.
There's nothing wrong with difference. You don't want to get to a world where everybody looks like the same
That
little
everyone's the
robot.
same,
Yeah.
And
I don't know. If
can
everybody
tell me
looked like Sade, I'd be
tell
okay
me your
with that.
name, or are you male or female? Or are you an employee, or are you the owner? Because all I see is a circle. People are going to have opinions,
Right.
and you're taking in information about everything. It doesn't mean you don't like it. You don't have it.
Yeah.
know
Yeah, I
what
see
I'm
what you're
getting at.
saying.
Yeah, and I think that it's appropriate to treat people a certain way depending on where they are at. So let's say you would talk to a 5-year-old different than you would talk to a 20-year-old, or maybe you talk a little bit different to a female than you would an old college buddy.
Yeah.
That's okay. For me, that's okay.
Right. As long as it doesn't veer off the path. you know?
Right,
Yeah.
unless you're just trying to like mansplain things to me, and
Yeah.
I don't like that. So.
Or woman's plain. And
This
that
is true.
works two ways.
Yeah, it sure does.
What are you mad about, baby? If you don't know, I ain't telling you. Well, we're going to play that game. Okay. Everybody's got their little thing.
Yeah. So, do you have any closing statements that you'd like to make?
I think that if we want women to feel comfortable in a male-dominated industry, we need to start with respecting their position, and maybe not seeing them as a woman at first, and then of course acknowledging that they're a woman or whatever. But I think it's about, and on a professional level, just respecting their position as a whole. If somebody struggles with that, respect their position, and then it'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Becky?
Don't jump to conclusions that, like the men did, who automatically assumed that I was the secretary
Mm-hmm.
or the new secretary that they just hired when I wasn't. So, just ask questions. Don't automatically assume one thing, because 99% of the time they're going to be wrong.
Right.
Right. Mark, what you got? Come on, brother.
Well, let's
Now's
see.
your chance to say something that's just so eloquent that people want to rewatch this part of the video over and over and over.
Have you ever had bacon wrapped around bacon in bacon juice on a bacon sandwich?
Not yet.
Treat yourself, buddy.
Okay.
Let me know how that goes for you.
It's pretty good.
That was eloquently delicious.
I like it. Well,
It made no sense.
and I like to tell everybody that every time I
That's
do
by
one of
design.
these, that I learn something new. And I did. I learned a little bit today.
Good. I'm
And
glad.
so,
Me too.
I think y'all are brilliant people, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that got repaired, that, and stayed safe.
Person repaired.
That we're glad
Yeah.
that, you were there also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It was
thank you
just-
both
So-
for coming on.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank
And
you for
my
having
goofy
us.
self, I don't mean any offense by stupid jokes. And,
No.
sometimes I just entertain myself.
We'll take you out to the parking lot.
Male-dominated world, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just
Well,
playing.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I love that shirt. I just can't get over that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was thinking about getting a duck and taking it hunting. You ever taken a duck hunting?
Yeah, I shot an elephant in my pajamas once too. Yeah.
Awesome.
I
We'll have to
can't
talk
believe he
about that.
fit in my pajamas.
All right, well, guys, there you have it. So we've got some pretty strong opinions on what's going on, and like I said, I learned some stuff. So reverse the video back a little bit, watch the other parts that you didn't quite get, and pick it up. If you've subscribed to this channel in the past month or so, I appreciate it. If you haven't,
Get up off your hind ends and subscribe.
that's right, the button's there. And also, I just got informed earlier today that there's a like button. I don't know where it's at. I haven't seen it, don't know what it looks like, but find it and push it and just continue to push
You'll
it.
like it if
Yeah.
you do.
Push it over and over and over again and see what happens. So, guys, don't know what's on the schedule for the next week yet, but we've had a pretty interesting week so far, and I think this was a great show to
I
top
think
it out
it was
with.
too. And I got to get out to the parking lot and get killed. So
Yep. Mark's going to take his beating, and I'm going to go ahead and bring a camera
it
out
was
there.
so nice to enjoy life with y'all up to this point.
Ladies, I appreciate having you on. I know both of you drove quite a distance to get here, so thanks very much.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll be out.
Thank you.